It has been quite the journey, but we have finally arrived to the conclusion of the Rundown 6 level guides. That is, assuming Rundown 6 doesn't get an extension anyway. The Rundown 6 experience has definitely been an interesting one, and it's been a lot of fun working on these level guides for you all. It's always a pleasant feeling when I hear back from the viewers about just how much of an easier time they had with a level after watching one of my guides, or just how they learned some new strategies that they could apply elsewhere to just sort of get better at the game. And it makes me happy to know that I'm helping some of you get your first time completions. So let's end off Rundown 6 strong with one last level guide and go over everything you need to know to beat R6D4. Starting off as always, let's go over your loadout. So for this level, I'm going to be recommending something a little bit weird, and that would be a bio tracker, a mine deployer, and 2 seafoam launchers, which I can already hear all the spit takes that just occurred, but give me a few minutes and I will explain my reasoning behind this really weird loadout. So starting off with the bio tracker, why this? Well, in this level you're going to be faced with many different type of challenges. You're going to have to go through zones that have a lot of infectious fog in them. You're going to have to stealth through areas with a lot of big powerful enemies that you really just can't afford to wake up. You're going to have error alarms. You're going to have a lot of scouts. You're going to have to deal with chargers and very dark zones. Just many situations where having the information that the bio tracker provides for you and your team is going to be so helpful that I honestly cannot see myself playing this level without bringing a bio tracker into it. When it comes to the mine deployer, I want to bring this with us because there are going to be a few blood doors we have to go through. There are going to be some alarm doors where having a mine deployer would definitely help out quite a bit. And there are going to be many segments with a lot of scouts or just a lot of powerful enemies like giant strikers, chargers, giant chargers. And in these segments, if something goes wrong and we wake up a bunch of enemies, it's a lot easier to just fall behind a door, shut it, seafoam it a little bit and mine it, and let that mine deal with most of the enemies. That way we can conserve our ammunition and our health for later when we really need it. And then finally, when it comes to the 2 seafoam launchers, the head scratcher portion of this loadout. Now, some of you are thinking, why would you ever bring 2 of these? If you need a lot of seafoam for a level, just put all the tool refill into the seafoam launcher and take a sentry. That way you at least have that starting amount for somewhere else when you really need it. And you're not entirely wrong. I actually went back and forth with myself quite a bit on debating if I want 2 seafoam launchers or 1 seafoam launcher and a sentry. But I was looking throughout the entire level and I thought, what are the really difficult portions of it? And one of the first ones that came to my mind was that initial surge alarm you have to deal with early on in the level. The thing is, this surge alarm kills a lot of people. Even experienced groups have a bit of trouble with here, and I see so many teams trying this portion over and over and over again until they finally get lucky and beat it. So I thought, how can we make this easier? What's the best way to deal with the surge alarm? And it dawned on me, why kill the enemies when we can just stall them and freeze them in place? And what tool can do that? The seafoam launcher. But why 2? That doesn't really explain it. Well, the method I've come up with, or sort of learned from some of my friends and then adapted it a little bit, relies on using a lot of seafoam. So much seafoam that you actually won't have enough seafoam if you only bring 1 launcher with you, even if you pick up all the tool refill up to that part. You need to have 2 with you to make it work effectively. So that's why I'm recommending 2. But then I also thought, will this hinder me in the rest of the level because I don't have that sentry? But then after doing some more testing, I learned that no. Throughout the rest of the level, as long as you know where and when to use seafoam effectively, you actually make pretty much every other challenge throughout the rest of the level a whole lot easier to deal with. Sure, it might not be as effective as 1 seafoam and 1 sentry in certain portions of the level, but I feel like the portions that does make a whole lot easier outweigh the portions that become slightly harder, which is why I do recommend you bring 2 of these with you. This is a level where yes, sentries can help out, but in all honesty, I don't think sentries are necessary, so I would highly recommend trying this method out a bit if you're really struggling with D4, and see if it makes things a little bit easier for you. And now that you have an understanding of why I recommend this crazy loadout, let's get into the level itself and talk about everything zone by zone. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that your main objective is to collect the corrupted data cube, and this data cube will always be located inside zone 416. And you're going to be starting off inside zone 410. Now, as soon as you drop down to the level, an error alarm is going to initiate, and this error alarm will spawn in 4 strikers or flyers roughly every 30 seconds, which isn't anything too terribly difficult to deal with, but it will chip away at your ammunition and your health bit by bit with every new wave, so you don't want to dilly-dally too much. So as soon as you drop down the floor, start running and look throughout zone 410. In 410, there will never be any naturally sleeping enemies. There will just be a few resources for you to collect, as well as a key card that you're going to need to get into zone 412. So find that key card, and once you get it, let your teammates know. You're going to head to the northern end of the zone where the security door to 412 will be waiting for you. Pop that key in, do the full team scan, and while you're doing the full team scan, you're going to want to place a mine on the door because this door is also a blood door. Once you finish the full team scan and that mine is in position, you're going to want to open up the door and fall back a little bit. This blood door will spawn in just a few regular strikers as shooters, but it will also spawn in a birther that you're going to have to deal with. So after that mine blows up and deals with pretty much every single striker and shooter, you are going to rush in and deal with that birther immediately. I recommend that 3 people rush her to focus on her tumors, while 1 person looks to see where she starts spawning in the baby strikers, and just rapid fire in that area and kill off as many of them as you possibly can. That way the other 3 people can focus on destroying all the tumors and killing her before she ends the birthing animation and tries to run away. Once you have dealt with the birther and all the baby strikers though, you need to keep on moving quickly, because inside of this zone there will be a security door to zone 414 and 416. And the security door to 416 is going to be that class 4 surge alarm I mentioned earlier in the loadout portion of this video. And we need to make sure that we get some doors open now, that way there's no chance that they get broken down by the air alarm enemies. That way we can actually use the funnel strategy properly and use the strategy I'm going to be teaching you. So I recommend 2 people go to the right and go down that corridor, and 2 people go to the left and rush your way to the northern side of the zone and open up every single one of the doors as fast as you can. If you're wondering which doors I'm referring to, don't worry, we'll talk about that a little bit later when we actually get to talk about the alarm door portion and how to set up for it. So run throughout the zone, get those doors open, and once you have them open, you're going to want to head to the eastern side of it where you'll find the security door to zone 414. We need to go in here first because there's a power cell located inside the zone that we need to actually unlock the security door to 416. So go to the security door 414, do the full team scan, and head right on in. Inside of zone 414, there will be a few sleeping giant strikers, so do be careful of them. There will also be that power cell that you need to get into 416, and there will be a fair amount of resources, and I highly recommend you spend some extra time collecting every single one of these, because you're going to want to use those medipacks to heal up right before the surge alarm. That way people could take a few licks, worst case scenario. You want the ammo packs, that way everybody on your team actually has enough ammunition to deal with the surge alarm. And most importantly, you want those tool refills, that way you actually have enough C-foam to make this strategy work. I believe in total there's usually around 6 uses of tool refill, and you want all 6 uses of it to go to just one of the 2 C-foam launcher people. That's right, only one of them, do not evenly distribute it. The reason for this is because one C-foam launcher person just has to C-foam 2 doors and maybe re-C-foam 1 door just a little bit, while the other person needs to apply as much C-foam as they possibly can throughout a long corridor. So usually what I do, because I typically get a 2-4 split on the tool refills, is I'll eat up all of 1 2-use tool refill, and then I'll hold on to the 4-use, that way I can reapply to myself when I need to. So grab the resources from back here, get the power cell, head back to 412, put the power cell in, and you can start getting to work on setting up for the alarm door. As you can see with the map overlay, there are 3 different locations enemies can spawn from. If they spawn from the west, they will always go through these 2 doors right here, so this is where the mine deploy and the C-foam are going to come in handy. You're going to take care of these 2 doors. But if they spawn to the south or to the east, they are going to go through this open door right here, assuming this door is actually left open and this door right here is kept shut. If you do not make sure your setup is exactly like this funnel strategy will not work and this surge alarm will be a lot more difficult. So make sure the door that needs to be shut is kept shut and the door that needs to be left open is kept open. As for the C-foam people, right when you get back with that cell, the one person with all that C-foam and tool refill could just work on filling up that entire corridor. Use literally all of your C-foam, spread it everywhere throughout the entire corridor, and just refill yourself up with the tool refill and keep on applying it. Make sure one person on your team is staying near you, that way if the air alarm spawns from this direction, they can deal with it and you can just keep on focusing on the C-foam. And once you have put all the C-foam on the floor and you're completely out, you're going to want to let your team know, you're going to wait for a new air alarm wave to spawn in, deal with them, and then you're going to quickly go to the western side, shut, mine, and C-foam both of those doors, and then activate the alarm. Get to work on all 4 sets of scans. Every single one of them is going to be a full team scan, so everybody has to stay alive. And now you're just praying a little bit to RNG. Because even with this strategy, you are not guaranteed to have an easy time with this alarm. If the first wave spawns from the south or from the east, they are probably going to break through that sea foam right when you're on the 3rd or 4th set of scans, depending on your scan RNG. If they spawn to the west over and over again though, they're probably going to break down that door and you're going to have to deal with them from that direction. So things can go wrong in this situation. There's no way to have a perfect strategy where nothing will ever go wrong. So just adapt on the fly and just work depending on the situation you find yourself in. But once we have completed all 4 sets of scans, go over, open up the security door to 416. That way you can fall back in there in case you get overwhelmed by the enemies and start working on killing every single one of the enemies from the surge alarm. Once they are all dead, you can head to 416 and split up a bit. There'll be no sleeping enemies in here, so don't worry about that. You're going to be looking around for resources, seafoam grenades and seafoam trip nines, and that data cube that you need for your main objective. When you find that data cube though, do not pick it up right away. Why? Because it's rude. Think of it, you are in the final level of this rundown, the final challenge, and you worked hard to get here as a team. It would be incredibly rude to find that data cube and just pick it up immediately without letting your teammates know. So if you find it, call it out and don't touch it. Let your teammates look around, collect any resources they can find, grab those seafoam grenades and trip mines, and then all 4 of you come together as the team you are, stand next to that data cube, and then celebrate because you're done. You have completed the main objective. So when you're ready, pick up that data cube, and now that you have an understanding of why I recommend this crazy loadout, let's get into the level itself and talk about everything zone by zone. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that your main objective is to collect the corrupted data cube, and this data cube will always be inside of zone 13. And your game is zone 4. Right off the bat though, you need to be extremely cautious because zone 410 will be filled with a lot of regular strikers and shooters and giant strikers and shooters. So much to the point that if you wake up even in one room, you are in for one heck of a gunfight. So you need to be very cautious because right off the bat, as you drop out of your hydrostasis unit, you might accidentally land on the head of an enemy. So when you drop in, make sure your lights are turned off, nobody moves an inch, and quickly check your feet. Because I've had a few runs where I drop on top of a sleeper, and let's just say that sleeper isn't too happy that I tried to Goomba stomp it, and he ends up getting very pissy and wakes up the whole room. And that leads to a lot of complications, so don't move when you start off in this level. Stay still and just analyze your situation and make sure nothing wakes up. Once you're good and you know that you don't have to worry about anything, just start stealthing your way through slowly because this entire zone is packed with enemies. And here's the other thing too. Every zone between you and that data cube will not have a single use of ammunition in it. You will find medipacks and tool refills, but no ammo. So if you wake up a room and you waste all of your ammunition trying to deal with these enemies, you're not going to have any later for when you might really need it. So do your best and stealth your way through zone 410. As you make your way through, you'll be able to find a security door to zone 412. This security door is just a full team scan, so you can easily head right on in. However, now you have to be even more careful because inside zone 412, there's going to be a fair amount of giant strikers and shooters, as well as roughly about 6 scouts. And if you wake these scouts up, especially early on in the zone, they might spawn behind you back out in zone 410 and wake up every single one of those enemies, and now you're pincered by a ton of giants. It's not a situation you want to find yourself in, so be very cautious as you go through 412 and clear out the enemies. You don't have to kill every single one of the rooms, but I do recommend you clear at least the scouts as well as any isolated enemies you can very easily deal with. Just go through, clear out enemies, collect resources, and make your way to the back end where you find the security door to zone 413. Now this security door is going to have a checkpoint scan on it, but I do not recommend you do the checkpoint scan right away. First, make sure every enemy that's in the room with you is cleared out, and then the small room that's located to the north of you, I believe, go in there and make sure no enemies are still alive in there, because if something goes wrong inside zone 413, I like falling back to that small room, shutting the door behind me and mining and seafoaming it. That way I don't have to shoot nearly as much. So you want to make sure that that fallback room is taken care of. That and your terminal is in there, so you can use that terminal to figure out if you pass by any resources in 410 or 412. But once you've dealt with all that, you can go over, do the checkpoint scan, and open up the security door to zone 413. And inside of zone 413, you need to be even more cautious because in here is going to be pitch black darkness. There's going to be a fair amount of fog on the lower portion of it. And throughout this zone, there are going to be a lot of baby strikers, a few giant strikers, as well as one birther. And you definitely don't want to wake all this stuff up since you haven't really been given any ammunition up to this point. So what I recommend you do is play around the biotracker person. Stealth kill enemies who are isolated if you can, and just make your way through this zone, because in one of the 3 rooms, usually in one of the 2 side rooms, you'll be able to find a tool refill pack that I do recommend you pick up, as well as a corrupted data cube you need. You can also sometimes find a few seafoam grenades inside the zone, which I definitely recommend grabbing those, as you're going to want all the seafoam as you could possibly get in this level, but just be careful. You did just get a checkpoint though, so if you're somebody who is okay with using the checkpoint system, then I guess this isn't too big of a deal, as if you do mess up, you're not going to lose too much progress. But even then, you don't want to use as an excuse to just play haphazardly. So go throughout the zone, find that tool refill, and find that data cube. And once you find that data cube, don't pick it up right away. Why? Because it's rude. This is the final level of the rundown and you're working together as a team. It would be incredibly rude to just pick that up without letting anybody on your team know, because maybe somebody else wants to be that honored person who gets to pick it up and bring it back to the warden and show them, hey, I did this objective for you and I got what you wanted. So don't take that glory away from them if they want it. So find the data cube, and once you have found it, let your teammates know. And then once everybody is ready to go and they're fine with it and you've decided who gets the honor of picking it up, go on ahead and pick up that data. Let's end off Rundown 6 strong with one last level guide and go over everything you need to know to beat R6D4. Collect the corrupted data cube, and this data cube will always be located inside of zone 414. And you're going to be starting off inside of zone 410. Now, inside zone 410, there's not really a whole lot I need to take note of. There will be a few resources, there will be multiple chargers that you're going to have to get through, but really the only important thing is what's at the back end of it, which is going to be the security door to zone 412. This security door is going to be a blood door that will spawn in a few regular chargers, but more importantly, on the other side of the blood door is a sleeping tank, and this tank will automatically wake up right after you open up that blood door. So place a mine on the blood door, that way it deals with almost every single one, if not every single one of the chargers, and then just spread out a bit. Now, this room is nicely designed, so you shouldn't have too much issue dealing with the charger. There are plenty of areas for you to split up and then take cover if the tank is focusing on you, or just go around that cover and shoot at him if he's not focusing on you. So work together, get rid of the tank, and once he's dead, you can head into zone 412. Inside zone 412, there will be a lot of resources for you to collect, so I highly recommend you look for every single one of them. The terminal is pretty early on in the room. And inside of here, you'll be able to find 2 more security doors. One to zone 413 and one to zone 414. Now 414 is where you need to go to get your data cube. However, this security door is currently locked and requires a keycard that will always be located inside zone 413 in order to unlock. So you're going to want to head over to that side of the room. This is just a full team scan to get in here. So do the scan and then you can head into 413. Inside of zone 413 though, you need to be extremely careful because this entire zone is pitch black darkness with a fair amount of fog, and in here there are going to be chargers, giant chargers, and I believe roughly 3 charger scouts. And this can be pretty nasty if you end up waking everything up, because if you end up trying to go mano-a-mano with the chargers in this room, you're basically fighting a shadow because you're going to have a very difficult time seeing it before it plows you into the ground. So I recommend you prioritize dealing with the charger scouts. Use seafoam, that way you can more safely stealth kill them. And once you get rid of all the charger scouts in the first room, work on killing all the isolated enemies if you can. And then when it's nothing but cluster enemies or giant chargers, if you don't have a melee weapon combination, we can actually safely melee kill them. Just fall back out of the room a bit and just shoot your gun to pull the room. Everything inside zone 413 needs to die, that way there's no risk of them coming in during the alarm for the security door to 414. So shoot, pull them out, make sure you fall back a bit, that way you don't get hit by a giant charger tongue from the darkness. And once you clear out every enemy in the first room, you can then work on the 2 side rooms and kill every enemy that's inside of them. Once all the enemies are dead, you can go around, collect any resources, grab any consumables you might find on the shelves, like seafoam grenades or anything else, and you can also grab that keycard that you need. Once you have that keycard, you can head back to the security door to 414, plug it in, and you'll see that the door has a Class T alarm tied to it, so we're going to need to prepare for it. And as you can see with this map overlay, yeah, I forgot about that. You're disconnected from the system for some weird reason. Don't know why that is. So, unfortunately, no map overlay. All right, I guess we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. So there are 3 different locations enemies can spawn from. One is back in zone 410, the room you initially dropped down into, and the other 2 are inside zone 413, specifically the 2 side rooms. Both of the 2 side rooms inside zone 413 have 2 doors that enemies can go out of. So you can mine and seafoam all 4 of those doors depending on how you see fit. I know some people like to just simply mine all 4 and not seafoam any of them, but it depends on your team and how many resources you have on hand. As for the route to zone 410, there's not a single door you can shut, mine, and seafoam. So instead, we're going to take advantage of seafoam and just spray it everywhere on the floor. As you can see me and my team doing in the background footage, we're spraying it in certain locations, specifically the choke points, or I guess the stairs that the charger is going to have to come down to get to us while we're doing the scan. That way, when they do try to come for us, they will get stuck in it, and we kind of just shoot them from afar and just safely kill them, or we could just kill them when we get a little bit closer. That, or it just delays them, that way we don't have to deal with them all at the exact same time. So use a lot, if not all, of your seafoam in the areas you can see me and my team doing it. Make sure you have a lot of it in the direction of zone 410 since you don't have any mines in that direction that can help out. And once you have got all that in place, you can activate the alarm door and get to work on that traveling scan. This scan is going to go all the way around the room counterclockwise. It is going to go up above a bit. It's also going to go down below in the fog. So if you have fog repellers, I highly recommend you use those so we can see a bit more safely. If you're going by the staircases are seafoamed and you see the charger seafoamed, get rid of them. That way they aren't going to consume more of it or just break out and insta-lick you and deal some damage. And just work on finishing the scan. This scan can be a little bit difficult depending on exactly how much seafoam you use and how many waves actually spawn behind the mine doors in zone 413. But if your setup is good, overall it's not too terribly difficult to deal with, although you probably will get licked a little bit here and there. Once you finish the scan though, fall back out of the fog and get to a good place where you can just defend, wait for the chargers to come to you, and just pick them off one by one. Once every single charger is dead, you can go back in 413 to see if any of your mines did not blow up, and then once you've done that, you can open up the security door and head into zone 414. Inside of zone 414, there are going to be a fair amount of sleeping giant chargers, although you do not have to kill a single one of these, you can just purely stealth right past them. You'll be able to find a fair amount of resources I highly recommend you pick up, and you will also be able to find that corrupted data cube you need. However, once you find that data cube, do not pick it up. Why? Because it's rude if you do that. Think of it, you're on the final challenge of this rundown, you're trying to get to the very end, and you're all trying to work together as a team through many tense situations. So why would you be a jerk and just pick it up all by yourself and just hoard it, Let your teammates know. I recommend make sure you grab all the resources that are still left behind too, because why pick up the data cube if you haven't collected everything else and you'll stock yourself up? Do you want to pick up that data cube while you're sitting at 20% HP, or do you want to be sitting at like 40 or 60? Do you want to have an empty gun when you pick it up, or do you want a full gun that shows you are ready for action? Be smart about this, people. It's not that hard. So use the terminal, figure out if there are any resources inside the zones that you went through that you might have accidentally left behind, go back and collect them, and then once you and the entire team collectively are ready to go up to that corrupted data cube, pick it up, and once you pick it up, that will always be located inside of zone 411, and you start off inside of zone 410, which makes it sound incredibly easy. It's just like it's your next door neighbor. You just have to take a brisk little walk to collect that cup of sugar you politely asked for from them. However, this is GTFO, and that's not necessarily the case because there's a few things we need to do before we can get into 411. So starting off in 410, you may notice that there is a lot of infectious fog everywhere, and this is actually going to be true for every zone in between you and that data cube that you need. There is not a single safe spot in any of these zones where there is an infectious fog. But thankfully, inside zone 410, there are a crap ton of fog repellers that you can grab, as well as 2 fog turbines. So I recommend you immediately grab some fog repellers, throw them down, that way you can minimize the total amount of infection that you and your team will gain, and then just start making your way throughout the zone using those fog repellers, looking for the turbines. There are 2 of them, and you should be able to find one fairly easily. Once you find it, all 4 of you can stick together as you look for the second one, and once you get that, your team can split up a little bit if need be. There are some sleeping enemies inside zone 410, by the way, but there aren't too terribly many, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. There will also be some resources you can collect, so definitely make sure you go out of your way to try to figure out where those are located. Inside zone 410, you'll notice that there are 2 security doors that you can go to, one to zone 411 and one to 412. However, the security door to 411 requires a key card to get into, and this key card will always be located in 412, so we're going to be heading there first. The security door to zone 412, by the way, just being a simple full team scan. Inside of zone 412 though, you need to be careful because there will be a fair amount of regular enemies, there will be some giant strikers and shooters, and there will also be multiple scouts you'll have to go through. Thankfully though, you do not have to clear out every single one of the rooms in the zone. You only need to clear out the very first room, as well as the 2 rooms that are connected to the first room. The reason for this is because, spoiler alert, the security door to zone 411 is going to have an alarm tied to it, and we don't want these enemies in 412 getting pulled in during the alarm. So make sure you clear out those 3 rooms, but everything else you could leave be. So go throughout zone 412, being very careful of the scouts and the other enemies, looking for resources, looking for that key card, and also keeping an eye out for that disinfect station, because there will be a disinfect station inside the zone that you can use to remove all of your infection, which is quite nice, because this will make it so you can actually heal up a bit right before that alarm. So once you've got everything from 412 and your business is finished in here, you can head back out, go to the security door to 411, put the key card in, and you'll see that you have to deal with a class 5 alarm. So let's take a look at a map overlay. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that you're disconnected from the system for some weird reason. I really don't know why that is. Oh well, that's fine. We'll just have to simply do this the old-fashioned way. Hey, what is background footage for anyway? So there are a few different locations enemies can spawn from. They can spawn inside zone 410 with you, specifically in the room where you drop down to the level initially from, and they can spawn in 2 different rooms inside zone 412. Specifically, the 2 rooms are connected to the very first one. Now, the room in 410 is the most dangerous, as that's the absolute closest one to you, so make sure you mine and seafoam the door that is towards the bottom of the stairs next to the security door to 411. Just go down the stairs, it's on the left, mine and seafoam that door, as no other door inside zone 410 with you can actually get broken down. They'll never take those other routes, but do make sure every single one of those other doors are kept shut. Then when it comes to 412, all 3 of those doors that are connected to the first room can be broken down. And normally I would tell you to mine and seafoam all 3 of them. However, resources are a little bit tight, or at least tool refill is going to be a little bit tight here depending on how you've been playing up to this point. So you might not actually have enough to mine and seafoam all 3 doors. If that's the case, do what you think is best. Mining every single door is definitely top priority, but if you don't have the mines and you just have a bunch of seafoam, I actually recommend you just seafoam all over the floor near the security door that connects zone 410 and 412 together. That way, after those enemies break down the doors, they'll go through that seafoam and they'll get trapped in place for a bit, and this will give you more time to focus on the scans. Once you've got all of your setup exactly how you want it though, you can head over to the security door. I recommend that everybody hold on to stacks of fog repellers, that way you don't have to worry about holding on to the fog turbines and all 4 of you can shoot during the alarm. Throw the fog repellers throughout the room, wait a few seconds for them to power up, and then once they are good to go, activate the alarm door and get to work on the scans. All 5 sets of scans are going to be full team scans, so everybody has to be alive throughout the entire thing in order to actually finish this. Make sure about halfway through this you throw down more fog repellers, as the first set of fog repellers will not last the entire set. And just focus on getting the scans done while also paying attention to what direction enemies are coming from and shooting them before they get too close to you. Once you finish all 5 sets of scans and every single enemy is dead, you can go back and check any of the mines that you placed down. That way you can see if they actually got, or if they got triggered or not. If not, pick them back up. And then you can head back to the security door to 411 and activate the checkpoint scan that's tied to it. Once you finish the checkpoint scan, you can head into 411 itself. Inside of zone 411, there are going to be a lot of enemies, both smalls and bigs, and there are going to be a lot of spitters that you need to be careful of. This zone is fairly big and a little bit maze-like, so I recommend you just stick together, stealthy your way through the best you can with those fog turbines. Keep an eye out for any boxes or lockers that way you can collect resources or more seafoam products, as you're going to still want some more for the ending bit of the level, and just make your way through while you look for that corrupted data cube. When you find that corrupted data cube though, I recommend you do not pick it up right away. Why? Oh, because there might still be some resources you haven't picked up yet. Hop on the nearest terminal and check every single zone, 410, 411, and 412, and see if there's anything you left behind. At this point, every resource matters and you're going to want as much as you can, especially tool refill. So if you did leave some behind and it's not in an area that hasn't been cleared out or has a crap ton of enemies that you just do not want touched no matter what, go back and pick them up. Then once you've collected all the resources, all of you can go back together as a team, go to that corrupted data cube, and then pick it up. And upon picking...
Hey, you. You're finally awake. You were trying to...
Whoa, okay. Whoa, what just happened? What just happened? Where am I? Hey. Okay. I'm in my room. What is going on? I was working on a level guide, and all of a sudden I blacked out, and then I started having dreams about realities that are just like mine, but slightly different. My brother's not going to walk in with a tentacle head again, is he? No? No? Okay. Oh, what the heck just happened? Jeezums. I'm sorry. A record button's still on, so I guess I was in the middle of recording a segment. Think, what was I? D4 level guide data. Data cube. Okay. Oh, sorry about that, everyone. I think I'm back on my feet, although my head hurts a bit. Apologies. Let's continue on with this level guide, shall we? So you just picked up the data cube from zone 416. Yes, 416. And that's going to cause 3 different things to happen. The first one is that the error alarm that's been going on throughout this entire level will now shut off, and any enemy that's actually still alive due to the error alarm is going to vanish into thin air. So you don't actually have to worry about killing any of them. The second thing is that a message on your screen will appear that will let you know that the security doors to zone 419 and zone 415 have been unlocked and you now have access to them. And the third thing is that your main objective is now going to update, and the game will tell you to head to the forward extraction in zone 418 in order to leave the level. However, there's quite a bit of stuff we need to do before we actually can get to that point. So the first thing I recommend you do is head to the security door to zone 419 that's located in 416 with you, as that is now unlocked and it's just a full team scan to get into it. Inside zone 419 there will be some resources, a terminal, as well as a disinfect station, which I honestly don't know why this is here. There's been no infectious fog in this entire level up to this point. I suppose there are syringes, so maybe you can gain infection from it, but I don't know. Unless if maybe you found some way into an alternate reality where there is infectious fog or something. I don't know how you have infection, but if you have infection, you can use this disinfect station to get rid of it. So use that, collect the resources, heal up, refill the C-foam launchers quite a bit. From this point on, you don't really need any mines. 1 or 2 couldn't hurt too much, but pretty much all of your tool refill should be going into the C-foam launchers, as we are still going to need quite a bit of C-foam in order to finish the level. And then also, I recommend you use the terminal to check all of the resources inside zone 410, 412, 414, and 416, because you might have missed some things as you were racing through these zones to collect that data cube and shut off the error alarm. So if there's anything left behind, go back and collect it. Once you've gotten everything though, you're going to head into zone 414 and head to the eastern side of it, where there'll be a security door to zone 415. There is a security door to zone 417 that we could go to that will lead to zone 418. But the security door to 417 is unpowered and requires a power cell to be plugged into the nearby generator. And the only other power cell in the level is located inside of zone 415. However, the security door to 415 has an error alarm tied to it. And this error alarm is a lot more threatening than the first one because this is basically like a mini surge alarm. It is going to be spawning in waves of enemies very, very quickly, and these waves of enemies could consist of anything like regular strikers and shooters, the occasional flyers, as well as a hybrid or 2 every once in a while. And pushing through all of this and trying to survive against them while you're going to extraction can be really difficult. So we sort of want to do a similar strategy that we used for the very first surge alarm and just trap everything. So grab C-foam grenades, grab C-foam trip mines, there should be a fair amount of them inside zone 416, and you're going to sort of want to do the same thing you can see my team doing in the background footage. Spray C-foam all over the floor, set up a C-foam trip mine, throw your C-foam grenades at an angle so they sort of spread out a bit, and use all the C-foam that you possibly can except for 1, maybe 2 C-foam grenades. That way the door that leads into zone 414, that one door you could shut, you can close that behind you and C-foam it as you're running away from the enemies. The general idea of this is we're going to trap all the enemies on that little catwalk area while we go get the power cell, and then we just walk right past them and get out of this room with the power cell, shut it behind us, C-foam it, and then just book it to that generator and all the way to extraction, while we continuously just shut doors behind us and re-C-foam them if we find more C-foam along the way. That way we never once have to kill a single enemy from this error alarm. So once your team is ready and all the C-foam is in place, go over, do the full team scan, and then you're going to split into 2 teams of 2. 2 people are going to stay on the southern catwalk outside in zone 414 to ensure that almost every enemy will funnel through the C-foam, and then the other 2 people are going to head into 415 and look for the power cell. One person is going to use the terminal that's at the bottom of the stairs to ping it, while the other person is going to collect resources while they wait for the ping, and then go for the power cell once that ping appears. There are a lot of resources inside zone 415, but you don't want to waste too much time collecting these, as you want to get out of this place before the enemies break through all that C-foam you have out in the previous zone. So once you get the power cell, you're going to want to walk your way back out into zone 412, Don't be stupid like my team was and walk through the enemies, as you are going to get hit a little bit here and there. If you do that, go to the northern side of the room and go up that way. Shut the door behind you once everybody's out. Seafoam it. Do not mine it. Again, don't mine it. We don't want to kill these enemies. We want to keep them alive. And just book it back into zone 416. Go through the door immediately to your right as you enter into zone 412. Shut that door behind you. Keep on going. Head into 416. Go to the right, sort of like you can see my team doing. Shut that door behind you. Seafoam it if you do have a grenade on hand that you can still use. Put the power cell into the generator, and that will unlock the security door to 417. This door will only have a full team scan tied to it, so you could just simply do that. Open up the door, and you're going to want to rush your way through 417. There are no sleeping enemies inside 417 whatsoever. There are resources you can find, but in all honesty, you really don't need them. Just follow the route you can see my team taking, opening every single door you can, shutting them behind you, seafoaming them. Again, if you do find some seafoam grenades or tool refill along the way, do not mine them though. Again, I'm repeating myself. I sound like a broken record, but you do not want to kill these enemies. Just keep making your way through until you get to the security door to 418. This security door will also just be a full team scan. So once you finish a full team scan, you can open it up, head in, you just go through a few more doors, and you'll be in the room with your extraction scan. At this point, you could shut that final door behind you, mine it as seafoam if you want to, but in all honesty, really won't be that big of a deal because this extraction scan gains progress very quickly, and once you get it up to 100%, you are done and you have beaten the final level of Rundown 6. And that's all there really is to it. Just like always, if you have any tips or tricks for this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, leave it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, then consider hitting that like button. It helps out the channel and it helps these videos get noticed by people who really need them. And while you're down there, you might as well hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. I also have my own Discord server, so if you want to go the extra mile and put a smile on my face, hop on in, become part of the community I'm building. There you can ask me any type of questions, hang out with other people who like my content or GTFO as a whole, maybe even have the chance to play with me from time to time. Who knows? If you're interested though, link's in the description. Go check it out. Also in the description, you can find a link that will take you to the official GTFO merch store. So if you love this game and want to pick up some sweet merch, go take a look and see what they've got for you. Until next time, keep your eyes and ears open as news about the next major GTFO update might be coming out sometime soon. And I'll see you all in the next video.